Good morning and welcome to Helping Local Governments Work with Business. And we are, of course, at the SEEC conference, and this is one of the morning concurrent workshops. This is a time when we're going to learn about three different yet very similar programs. We're going to talk about how you connect with businesses, how you can sell your program, obviously the benefits for the businesses, collaborating with utilities and advice, and lessons learned. We have three fabulous speakers, and what I think I'm going to do is introduce them now so that we don't interrupt the flow. Not necessarily in any order. Sona Kalapura is the Environmental Programs Manager in the city of Manhattan Beach. She filled the position, which was newly created in 2008, and has enjoyed the challenge of moving Manhattan Beach towards sustainability. She's doing a fabulous job. She is proud to have engaged the local community in its environmental committee and climate awareness, including the largest 350.org climate action event on the West Coast. Wow. Cruz Ramos, at the other end of the table, is the city manager in the small city of San Joaquin. It's a rural community in western Fresno County where chronic double-digit unemployment, I think it's supposed to say, and low-income households are the norm. Her background is unique among city managers. She joined the community 9.5 years ago without previous experience as a city manager, and has worked very, very hard as a local government partner with PG&E and the Energy Coalition, which the city started in 2009. Ann Kelly, in the middle, is Energy Efficiency Program Manager in San Francisco's Department of the Environment, where she develops and manages energy conservation programs and works on energy policy issues. Before joining the department in 2001, she was a Senior Program Manager at PG&E for 2 years. Her work there focused mainly on managing small and medium-sized business programs. Welcome. Please come on in and join us. From 1992, this is so much fun. You learn all these wonderful tidbits about people. Here's the interesting tidbit. From 1992 to 1999, Ann was executive director and publisher of Home Energy Magazine, a leading trade journal for building scientists and the home performance industry. So we have a fabulous panel, and the theme that's going to run through this concurrent session is, what do these three exceedingly diverse communities have in common? And we had a conference call among the panelists about a month ago and realized that there are a lot of things in common. I mean, you know, San Joaquin, San Francisco, Manhattan Beach, three very, very different communities, yet the lessons learned, the techniques, the insights that we hope to share with all of you today, they all have a common theme. So now, for the last slide, let's share. Let's learn from each other, and we're going to do this a little bit differently, so hopefully it'll work. Each of the panelists is going to give a short presentation about her community's program. We're then going to do some round robin among the panelists on some key questions that we think everybody would be interested in knowing about, and then we're going to open it up for questions from all of you. So we're going to start with Sona,
As she mentioned, my name is Sona Kalapura, and I'm the Environmental Programs Manager for the City of Manhattan Beach. Currently, I'm working on a few different initiatives in the city. We're getting ready to be an EV, happy community. We want to have an EV initiative in the city and see more electric vehicles in our town. We're also working on a lot of different community programs surrounding energy efficiency and water conservation, kind of the basic groundwork for the programs in the city. For those not familiar with Manhattan Beach, we're a small seaside community, 4 square miles, about 35,000 in population, and we're just a few miles from here. It's a beautiful place to go. If anyone needs to go to dinner after this conference or a happy hour, let me know. I will give you recommendations of places to check out while you're here. Just as some background and some history on the city, our environmental initiatives were really ground-up programs, really grassroots, started from the community, residents coming to our city council meetings asking for support and adoption of climate change initiatives, students coming asking for a ban on plastic bags to protect the community's environment. We're a beachside community. The ocean is their backyard. It's a very important resource to the community. Some of you may be familiar with the city's plastic bag saga. If you haven't heard it, it's a great story. We ban plastic bags. We get sued by the industry. We fight it in court for 3 years, take it to the California Supreme Court. Last year, the city won the right to ban plastic bags in the community. So it was, a good story for our city, but also a good one for lots of other cities that were waiting to see how this ordinance and how the legal actions would play out, and it played out in our favor, so we're good. And the best part of it is that the community is supportive, but the businesses are already supportive. So a lot of them, on their own initiative, even though the ban wasn't in effect while we were fighting the case, the businesses went through and said, we'll change already. We don't need to wait for the ordinance to come into effect. That's not the case for all businesses. Some of them are waiting until the last day of implementation, which was last weekend, to start and get ready, but we're slowly working our way through it. So that's at least now something that's coming into effect for the whole city. As we've started working through these programs, Yvonne mentioned my position was a new one. There was a lot of interest in environmental programs in the city, so the city council decided we needed to have a position. And not only did we need a position, we needed some way to engage all the active residents and the volunteers in the community that wanted to do something to really help shape the footprint of Manhattan Beach. So we started with an environmental task force. I think the unique part about our task force is that we had representatives from the business community on the task force. They were volunteers and they're residents. They are also local business owners, and they became members of our community task force to help us shape our policies, to do a green building standards, to do our climate action plan, shape zero waste principles and green purchasing principles. So all the things that we as a community want to do to move towards sustainability. This last year, what we've been focusing on now is that we've got all the policies out of the way. We want to actually implement them. We don't want to just have plans that we put on a bookshelf. We want to implement these programs. And our 2 key areas to start off with were energy efficiency and water conservation, and how do we engage our residents and our businesses in the community to really embrace the environmental movement in Manhattan Beach. As an example, we had a really fun energy contest. It was an energy efficiency contest for the residents. We wanted people to really become aware of their energy consumption and what they could do, simple things that you could do to reduce electricity consumption over a 3-month period. We were calling it the Watt Watcher contest because we're having people watch their electricity, see how many kilowatts you could reduce over 3 months. The program was really only possible because we had support from our local businesses who donated the prizes and the pretty extensive cash awards to the winning families and to the winning schools. Our winning family was able to reduce energy consumption or electricity consumption by 40% in just that 3-month period. We had other families telling us they couldn't wait to get their Edison bills. I don't know how many people look forward to getting a utility bill, but when people are saying they want to get their bills to see how low they could go, we knew we were doing something right with the program. As we were developing the program, we realized we really wanted to do something to engage the businesses in energy efficiency. And so we started to develop another challenge type of concept to have, challenge our businesses to go green. And as we were doing that, it really started to grow beyond just the energy efficiency component and formulate into a more comprehensive sustainability audit. Now, for us, we were fortunate that we were able to partner with our solid waste hauler to actually go through and implement these audits, which for me was a huge weight off of my shoulders because in the city, we're a small city, so we have one staff, which is me, that works on the environmental initiatives. So to have our waste hauler actually be the ones to go through the audits, go do the site visits is a huge help to help make this program move forward and make it a reality. So our Green Business Program, we were able to incorporate it into our new solid waste contract. So So that might be something as other cities are trying to figure out, how can we implement a program like this? Well, as our contracts are expiring, we want them to get greener and greener and greener in the waste world, and they do solid waste audits. Well, if you're going to do a solid waste audit, maybe you can broaden that and make it a full comprehensive sustainability audit for the businesses. We partnered with the California Green Business Program. It's a network of local governments run through the, so if I get this right, DTSC, the Department of Toxic Substances Control. Some of you here, maybe cities that are already members of the group. I know your city, San Francisco, is already a member of the group. So we're looking to see how we can learn from those that are already experienced in the program to see how we can make our program better. The goal for us is to register 20 businesses a year in the program. We're already almost halfway there. We just kicked the program off in April, so we think maybe we'll hopefully exceed that program by showing the community and showing the businesses that there is benefit to joining, and it's a free service for each of the businesses to participate in. It's something that they get recognition for, so they're able to show their customers and frankly their other businesses on the block that, hey, look, we're a sustainable business. We are part of a statewide program, not just a city program, not just a local initiative, but this is a broader program that we're working through. Each of the businesses need to show that they are taking action in all the program categories. So there's a checklist menu of options through the certification program. They touch on energy efficiency, water conservation, wastewater management, pollution prevention, all geared towards helping businesses learn how to save energy, save water, so they'll reduce their utility bills, and also create a healthier work environment by removing some of the toxics that they may not really be aware of, may realize that are existing in their facilities and their operations. So we're trying to show the businesses that there's a whole host of benefits to participating. And then there's the great community pride that goes with it, that they know that they're participating in something that's doing good for the environment. It's something that the city of Manhattan Beach, their customers like and they appreciate. So we know that the businesses that are already in the program are really enjoying that pride and that recognition. That's good for my update. So if we have questions later on, I'll take them.
And if you want to learn more about Manhattan Beach, you can go to the Manhattan Beach participant profile page for the Beacon Award. They are early member, and we're delighted to have them. So, Cruz.
Again, good morning. This is a great opportunity for our little community. The city of San Joaquin is all of 1 square mile. Our population is slightly over 4,000, and we really are very anxious to be able to become a model for energy efficiency for rural communities. Before I get started, I'd like to go ahead and introduce someone who's in the audience that really did all the heavy lifting on this program. Alex Portashaver, who is now with the city of Benicia. Would you please stand, Alex? Yeah. She really was the driver. She did the heavy lifting, and together we put a program together that we hope to be able to demonstrate that small communities, small, hard-to-reach communities, can also become part of the energy efficiency movement. City of San Joaquin, I've already mentioned that it is all of 1 square mile. Our population is roughly over 4,000. It's interesting, 40 of that 4,000, 45% are 19 and under. So we have a very young population. We're hoping to be able to reach them and have them become stewards of energy efficiencies and just environmentally conscious. We started this program. We're going to go through this very, very quickly, so for the essence of time. Our city council is very supportive of everything that we're doing environmentally. They want to be able to demonstrate that a small, hard-to-reach community can become a model for others. Our local government partnership was approved by the CPUC with partnership with PG&E and the Energy Coalition, and that was approved in 2009. We have under the local government partnership the Energy Watch Program, the Energy Savings Assistance Program. The Energy Watch Program basically is the one that works with the city, with the businesses in our community. We are different in that we have 36 businesses, so really, really very, very small group of businesses. But what we decided early on was that people in our community are very reluctant to let outsiders into our community. So our focus was on getting the highest saturation possible, and in order to be able to do that, we needed to make sure that the community, the residents, the businesses alike were familiar with, first of all, the program, and then secondly, to be able to educate them with respect to what the savings means to them. We had some very significant achievements with our Energy Watch program, which also included the city-owned facilities. All of the 7 city-owned facilities became enrolled in the program. And as you can see, the wastewater treatment plant was just a huge expansion project that doubled its capacity. And so as you can see, that was in most communities, wastewater treatment plants are one of the highest energy users. Right now, we're looking at solar so that we can look to see how we can reduce the energy usage. And these are our 36 businesses, and together the total savings per year was 345,854 kilowatt hours out of 36 businesses, and 99% enrolled in the program, all 99% of the 36.
And that's $57,000 saved.
Yes, in savings.
A lot of money.
The best way to achieve the savings, we believe, is the education to make sure that there's credibility. We enlisted the help of our council members, our mayor, and our mayor pro tem. Were very instrumental in getting the word out to the community. We also had one of our staff members tag team with a local contractor so that also supported the credibility. The PEAK program is another program that the Energy Watch program will be enlisting in the fall with the Golden Plains Unified School District. We strongly believe that education is the key to the success of any program. So we're going to use our youth to be able to educate them. So not only do they become knowledgeable about the programs, but they can start becoming stewards. In a Hispanic-speaking community, it's important to have the youth be able to teach their parents. So greening the next generation and the strategic planning goals are critical. The CPUC started with the initiatives of strategic planning, and we implemented those through the year 2000. They started in 2008 and to 2011. Now they're also going to add some new strategic goal plans. For the city, we decided that there were 3 goals that we wanted to utilize. And you can see our mayor pro tem, and 3 other council members. We felt that it was, again, critically important to have our council engaged in whatever it is that we were doing with regard to the energy programs. They were very supportive. We also worked very closely with our code enforcement officer. Our program manager at that time for the local government partnership was Alex. And so together we started working on different ordinances, also incorporating how we can get the education as we go through all of the different applications that people come in to our community. Again, we're leading by example, and this council strongly supports making sure that every program that is achievable for San Joaquin gets its full attention. The goal number 4 was local governments lead by innovative programs. We worked with the Cal Poly students, and together we worked on a plan that was going to allow the city to upgrade its general plan to include climate action plans. This was a very important aspect because we were able to get our community to come out and to be able to engage with them, to see what the issues were for them, but more importantly, to educate them on environmental aspects that can be helpful to even a small community like San Joaquin. Again, part of goal number 4 is working with ICLEI, PG&E, and the city of Fresno to complete additional inventories so that we have a baseline that we've established, and as we move forward, we're going to be able to monitor and track that. Sustainable development. again, as part of the work that the Cal Poly students did, they put together a plan that's going to be able to enable us to work on 19 improved lots in the city of, I was going to say San Francisco, the city of San Joaquin. And what they did is we have these 19 improved lots that we want to be able to use as a model for rural communities with all of the aspects that you see that have been listed. We're successful in getting a CDBG planning grant to be able to move this project forward. And now we are currently in the process of seeking consultants to be able to move the project forward. We're very excited about this. We hope that this could become a model for hard-to-reach rural communities. The Energy Assistance Program was critical in this particular area because 3/4 of our residents either meet or exceed the poverty federal government guidelines. The local contractor was so helpful in that they had Spanish-speaking individuals. They were very courteous. They answered all the questions. And more importantly, they were able to target whether or not the particular household qualified for the energy savings program. What we believe very strongly is that to get the education out, we need to be able to do this in different methods. One of those was developing magnets that were used for the dishwasher, but also it had energy tips on these magnets. The bookmarkers, also energy tips. So wherever possible, we made it a fun program, but educational as well. On this particular one, as you can see, the educational outreach was very critical in our community because most of our individuals speak Spanish, and we wanted to make sure that we covered both the English and the Spanish components with the education of both programs. You can see our mayor, the video that I was speaking about earlier, is that we collaborated, again, to lend credibility to our program. We found that it's necessary for our community to be able to see people that they recognize, people that they trust, communicating the message of the importance of these types of programs. So it's a 3-minute video, and I'm going to skip very quickly. I think, Yvonne, if we can do just a short snippet on the video. While she's getting that ready, green jobs is critically important to a community whose unemployment rate is 38%, and it has hovered as high as 50%. So we're working with the solar developers in our area.
Yo soy Amarpreet Dhaliwal, alcalde de la ciudad de San Joaquín, aquí con detalles sobre qué puede esperar del Home Energy Assistance Program, traído a usted por la ciudad de San Joaquín y PG&E.
Hola, mi nombre es Julia Hernández, el alcalde provisional de la ciudad de San Joaquín. Estoy muy emocionada de hablar con ustedes sobre el programa de eficiencia de energía para el hogar, conocido como el Home Energy Assistance Program. La ciudad de San Joaquín y PG&E pueden proporcionar a dueños de casas elegibles y también renteros con maneras de ahorrar dinero en sus pagos mensuales de energía. Este programa le proporciona mejoras para el ahorro de energía de su hogar gratis, como reemplazo de focos, electrodomésticos, nuevo aislamiento y más.
So that was the video that we used at various programs. Our farmers market, we showed this video at the schools. So everywhere that people congregated, we showed this video, and also we're there to provide handouts and other types of materials to better educate our community. Thank you.
To give you an idea of the history of programs in San Francisco, which I think is important as a backdrop, we've been doing programs with directed to small businesses since 2001. We received money during the energy crisis or to deal with that. And it was a peak reduction program, and it was just for lighting. So it was this, and we won an EPA award for it, but we did 4,000 businesses in a year and a half. So it was, it was our introduction I just started at the Department of Environment when that happened, and so we got things on the street and just did this lighting blitz throughout the city. So just some statistics. San Francisco is unique in the way that it is a city and a county, the same exact borders. So rather than counties that face, getting cities to buy into stuff, we have to have the districts, the supervisors, buy into things. It's just as complicated. So we have to be aware of the political situation. So you can see this is really, it's really 49 square miles to make it nice and even and match with the 49ers. But we have 70,000 operating businesses compared to 36. So, we know it's a long haul, and, you have to have a plan, and the plan has to depend on how much you know about your city and the businesses in it. So our businesses range from small to medium to large. And the biggest, so I don't know if this is going to move. There you go. So right now, I'll just talk about our latest program, which actually started in 2006 under this name, San Francisco Energy Watch, the partnership with PG&E. And our program is pretty robust. We've built it up over time. So we have the smallest one. We have all these different incentive categories. That's what the dollar signs are for. SBDI is the small program I'll be talking about. It's the Small Business Direct Install, and that's for, they speak English as a second language. They have qualifying things. They're a nonprofit, and they are 20 or fewer employees. So they get to have the highest incentives, and they are among the hardest to reach. They're very small businesses. The small commercial is under, you can just read up there, so they get a certain level of incentives. We deal with large commercial. We work with them as well, and they get the smallest incentive. And then we have a multifamily program that deals with very small to very large multifamily buildings. So part of this design is we strive to be cost effective dealing with the small businesses. The benefits that we offer, we do in our office. We get the money. We ask for large amounts of money from PG&E and have operate the stuff in-house ourselves. So I have 6 engineers working on my staff who do audits in small and large businesses. And so we give free energy assessments, which are very detailed and respected because they're like this. They respect the city rather than somebody trying to sell them something. We have an independent view. We give them a detailed report, all these cool things. And then we, in the Small Business Direct Install, this one we're talking about, we direct the contractors. We have a group of contractors that work with us, and we pre- and post-inspect every site in the small businesses. It's a lot of effort, so that turnkey services. And we have bilingual staff. Obviously, we have a very diverse, it's a melting pot. Our businesses are, there's, Chinese, Spanish, Vietnamese, Thai, etc. So will this go? Okay. And I have built up our program to offer lots of different measures. So we have lighting, HVAC, appliances, computers, boiler retrofits are big things in multifamilies. So we're able to offer lots of things to lots of people because there are just different applications for all of these in the city. They exist, so we go after them. And these are our goals for this current program, which are, and we are exceeding and have been exceeding since it started. We also manage the incentive money, and we manage the way the incentives are given out and how much you get. We use the DEER database as the basis for it, but a few other programs do this. Ecology Action uses the same system, and Smart Lights in the East Bay Energy Watch program. And we give a lot of incentives out. So this is this drives PG&E crazy and us crazy. They always ask us for forecasts. Well, you can't predict from month to month. But our highest month was in February, and that's over $450,000 in incentives given in 1 month for incentive programs. Okay, so that's a lot of projects. That's a lot going on. And we're very proud of that, but we ran out of money in June too, so we had to get extra money. It went way, way ahead of our forecasts. So the multifamily and commercial. So you can see how, besides small businesses, just to pitch multifamily, we have more multifamilies and more people live in multifamily buildings in San Francisco than in single-family homes. It's a key, and a lot of the property is very old. So, and there's new ones out there. We found that we did retrofits in these new buildings that they were huge. I have some case studies we can look at later, but like $40,000 in incentives, or sometimes more, to do their lighting in their stairwells and their garages because they put in inefficient lighting. Buildings that are 5 years old. So we've managed to get lots of savings on those, and we give out the incentives, but it pays down the project and saves lots of energy. And so we do cater to both the small and the larger ones. Okay, so this is what we've done that this mainly we want to talk about, and there's going to be a lot of numbers up there. We can talk about them later. We can bring up these slides, look at them. But we decided on a neighborhood campaign. It's been running for 3 years. And it's these are the steps we go in. We get a walking list from PG&E. So we pick the neighborhoods, which are the districts. Picking which one comes first was,
The supervisorial district.
The supervisors' districts, right? There are 11 of them. So we had a plan for 11, and we had, like a whole plan laid out for how we would do that. And this was part of the plan. So we'd get the walking list of that district from PG&E, and then we would manipulate it somehow and send it out with. At the same time we were setting this up, the workforce development group came to. I'm sorry, this is an aside, but the folks you see here are part of ARA funding, and we added them to this campaign. So we added this element where they go out and walk the districts first. And they've been around for all these years, and they've learned a lot, and we're very proud of them. So they would go and introduce the program, and they would get customers to sign up. They would sign an access agreement so that we can then come back, and it would go to one of our auditors on the staff, and they would go back to the businesses and do the audit. And then we would get a contractor, one of the assigned contractors, and have them do the project, and we would have the engineers would also go and inspect it. So that's how our small business program went. It was very direct with the customer. It was our staff, and it was the environment. We call them Environment Now, the workforce development. They're the ones in the little vests. Up there in the right-hand side, you'll see a picture of the gentleman on the right is the chair, or the president of the Board of Supervisors, and the woman is our director. So sometimes when they're out there, they'll join them, and so they want to talk to people in the community as well and publish the program. These numbers running down there make you crazy, but you can see there's businesses, and the supervisors, the districts have their numbers of businesses on the list that we went to. So they're over 15,000. But you can see they vary in terms of the sizes. Some neighborhoods are very suburban-like. They're residential, and they only have maybe 1 or 2 commercial strips. Others are very, like Fisherman's Wharf area and places like that. There's lots and lots of businesses. So they, that's why they're not equal, not because we favor one. And these are the types of neighborhoods. So you have Chinatown, you have the Mission over there, which also has some Chinese lettering in it, but the Mission is on the lower left is basically Spanish speaking. It's kind of like Juarez. If people been in San Francisco, if you walk down Mission Street, it's completely in a different world than from 2 blocks away, and it's a long street. And then you have So there are different sort of the middle class neighborhoods, the upper class neighborhoods. They just go walk in these neighborhoods, and it's door to door campaigns. So it was very labor intensive. But this workforce development group, they were when they first came, they were paid by the Labor Department and through an R grant, and then we kept a certain amount of them on staff. So it's been a nice working relationship. So that's how basically that we direct this energy and resources towards our small businesses. And these are some of the information we got. Part of the good information we got, that a lot of the businesses were already efficient. And so we didn't get a lot of bang for the bucks and doing, our lesson as a manager was that all that effort, all that time, all that personnel and labor, we got very little kilowatt hour and kilowatt savings to show PG&E. But that's balanced with the stuff that the savings that we got from the multifamily side of the program and the larger businesses, which was going on simultaneously. But we got a lot of information, and we helped update PG&E's walking list, which when you get data from the utilities and doesn't match up with data from the city, and there were a lot of things to reconcile. So these are just an overview of what they found in the walks, and it helped us kind of keep things up to date. So I don't want to dwell on that, but we didn't just get savings. We brought services and such. So these were the high-level kind of lessons learned, the barriers that we faced, and you'll see. Even though there's usually a copay because we want the customer to invest, it's not just complete 100%. That goes for low-hanging fruit sometimes, and also they don't see the worth of it. So it's hard to reach all these things that we share, right? We share in Manhattan Beach, and in the city of San Joaquin, certainly, in other cities. You see something there, discomfort with city employees. I thought, okay, so what are the examples of that? Really what that is, not to discourage you, you must do this, is that they think we're coming to inspect them. They want to be sure that, we're not there inspecting them, or if they've done something that wasn't up to code at some point, and so we try to keep those lines very clean. And, and there's just more opportunities we got out of that besides just getting the energy done. We were a presence in the community. And I think I'll stop there and we can get questions.
A lot of similarities.
So what we'd like to do is, if it's okay with the speakers, and I'm going to turn that off in a second, or actually you'll be able to move back and forth if you need to. I'm going to collapse a couple of the questions.
Sure.
And we're going to have a little back and forth sharing here, and we think we may anticipate some of the questions all of you have, and then we'll open it up for questions. So I think it sounds like there are a couple of themes that you've heard from these very diverse communities. Tips on the importance of trust, having known quantities, city staff, elected officials, provide the entree into the community, multilingual, and developing a rapport with the businesses. So with that as a theme, tell us, the three of you, if you would, besides those three items, how did you sell the program? How did you convince the small businesses or medium-sized businesses that they should participate and that they might benefit from it? And I'm just collapsing a couple of our questions. So let's...
Down the line here? Sure. Yeah, so I had assumed that our city was the small city, but no, I think we're the medium-sized city compared to San Joaquin. We've got about 500, it's probably a little bit more than 500 businesses in town. We're targeting, to start with this program, a small population of that, so 40 businesses, which I can see the similarities between the programs. We identified the first 40 by really a walking a door-to-door campaign that our volunteers were running as part of another program. We identified businesses that wanted to be associated with our bike and walk-friendly business district. So we were doing an event, we wanted business support, we identified those that said, yes, we want to be part of this program. And now that they've already kind of self-identified themselves as green businesses, those that we saw would have some susceptibility to doing this program. So now we've got a list and we're working our way through it. And we've got the initial 8 businesses that have kicked off since Earth Day in April. And the way we're selling it to these businesses, 2 were kind of an easy gimme, which maybe is not fair because 2 of them were on our committee, our environmental task force members. 2 of them are local business owners. So we figured what better way to start and kind of put some interest out for this program than getting our own task force members to say, look, let's go through this audit, use you as the guinea pigs for it, and get you started on this program so you can show others that this is easy to do, there are benefits here. So that was kind of the first step that we took to selling it to the business community. Now we're working through our Chamber of Commerce and the local business improvement districts as an incentive for these businesses to help them get some advertising. Businesses, it was a tough economy that we're starting to come out of. We can see it in Manhattan Beach where we're starting to see the sales taxes and everything increase. But for the past few years, it was a tough environment for a lot of local businesses. Some of the smaller shops were closing, moving out of town. And so we wanted to do something that was positive for the community, which I think is something that really wanted us to get started on the business side. We were doing a lot for our residents, but to do something to encourage and reward the businesses. So this was kind of a nice way to recognize those that could take efforts saving the environment and then pushing the whole angle of you'll be saving money by doing these programs.
And what about you? How do you sell the program and convince the businesses that they're going to benefit?
For most businesses, it comes down to money. So you really have to have someone explain to do the payback. I have a few, and also we have these, a couple case studies. So these are all individual sheets on each of these. So what this does is show on the savings and the payback. So, the first one got an immediate payback. They like that. 2 months, 4 months. So for small businesses, they can kind of manage that. This Chloe Art Gallery was a good experience because we have to go into our next stage. I mean, we've done these street walking type things like where there are businesses that are open. We've got lots of businesses that are on the second floor or, you don't have access to them. And they're not retail. So there's loads of those. So that's our next approach, is to try to get to the ones that we haven't been able to just get to. But this Chloe Art Gallery, the good thing about this is that it's the first art gallery in our program that switched all to LED lighting, for a gallery, and that's a very sensitive thing for them. So now we get this nice little case study, which we will send to all the other galleries in the city, which there are many of. So that will be, so now it's going to be targeted in a different way. And these kinds of things convince them. So there's restaurants. We've got some of our bigger ones. Nico Hotel. They saved $83,000 a year. Yeah, and you find like the Thirsty Bear, which is a green business. Theirs took 14 months to pay back, but they wanted to do it, so there's not always the same opportunity. So it was a smaller project, but they did it as part of the Green Business Program. Okay.
Great. Cruz, how do you sell the program and convince the businesses that they're going to benefit?
Tough sell. But basically, we always focus again on the education and making sure that people are aware that there is a savings that's involved with switching out and becoming more energy efficient, but also the savings to the environment. So while we did our education, part of this was the issue of cost. People were reluctant because they thought that the upgrades were going to be costly to them. And in our community, they just can't afford that. So we first had to make sure that they understand that the upgrades were totally, the retrofits were totally free of charge. That was the first obstacle, the first challenge. Once we got past that, we also incorporated with the fact that while they're not having to pay anything, they're going to be saving money on their utility bill, but they're also helping the environment. And that was really reinforced with the help from the Cal Poly students when they did their outreach and the work that's going to be used for our community plan.
Please.
I'm Susan Wright from San Mateo County Energy Watch, and I wondered how you dealt with the issue of business owners who don't own the building, if they're just a tenant.
Why don't we put that for everybody? Because I think everybody faces that.
I'll start. All of our businesses owners own their own shops.
Oh, that was easy.
Well, the programs are based on who pays the utility bill. So, for all these retail stores, they all have their own utility bill. So according to PG&E, they're a PG&E customer. That's one of the problems we're going to be facing going into some of these larger buildings where they're master metered, and then you're talking. It's kind of like a multifamily building, right? You're talking to the tenants and that tenant owner kind of conflict. So for the businesses we've been talking about now, that has never been a problem.
So even if they pay their own bill and they own the facility, or they have the ability, even if they rent or lease it as part of their contract, they pay the utility bill, are they still able to make lighting or HVAC improvements?
Yeah.
Okay.
That has not ever been a problem. But I'm sure, maybe there are some issues that come up around that if they want to do something really strange, but they're responsible, as long as it's meets code. And do they have some may. It's never been an issue. Have you run into it?
Let's do this. Let's hear what Sona says, and then we'll ask the rest of the group, with the puppy dog and the little girl and the ice cream cone, for sharing. How do you all feel about it?
Yeah, you don't need to own the facility to participate in the program, because the benefits of the program deal exactly with who's paying their utility bills. So a big incentive for a lot of our businesses. We're so space challenged in a lot of the business areas. A big thing we're promoting is you can reduce your trash pickups and increase your recycling rate. So all the businesses right off the bat are increasing their recycling. And a goal of ours, commercial recycling has been really low in the city, so we wanted to improve that. So we're getting them, you don't have to own the facility, but you definitely are responsible for your own waste and the energy and the water that you're using at the site. None of the programs yet, I don't foresee that happening, needing a large retrofit where it would affect the building on site.
Okay, anybody in the audience want to talk about that? Please.
Well, I just had a follow-up question. I think, so we're doing a lot of lighting retrofits and things that are relatively easy to do when you don't own the property, so that's the low-hanging fruit. As we get further on in these programs, then you're going to need to do things where you're going to be modifications to the building, where if you're not the building owner, then that's where it gets more difficult. So I wondered if anybody has plans, for that, of how they're going to deal with that issue when they, or maybe they're already getting there in San Francisco. I don't know, but
it sounds like it hasn't been an issue yet.
No, in these very small businesses, what we're talking about today, what we do is look at the types of measures, and you can go into these stores. If you go into a mom and pop store, their biggest energy bill is refrigeration. Mm-hmm. So we started looking for refrigeration, not lighting. Lighting's been done, because replacing these refrigeration units is huge expense, and a lot of them are leased, and they don't have control over really, the energy use on them. We got a pilot we're trying to get started on to study that issue, by the way. But so what we're doing, we're doing the ones that we can. I don't know, because we don't have air conditioning in the small businesses, so we don't have to deal with system stuff at all. So that's not an issue. In the larger buildings, they do have sort of, at least a ventilation system. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Anybody else want to talk? Yes, right there.
Pamela Staden from the Eastern Sierra Energy Initiative. We came up with a lot of challenges in our small business direct install. We're a town, the biggest town was 7,000, and that was Mammoth Lakes. And we have a few malls, and we came up with the challenge of that many businesses had their utility bill included in the rent.
Right.
And so that was a real challenge for us, and also that direct install was done, and we have seasonal time when contractors actually will come up, and actually it took us 3 years to get our program because no contractors wanted to come up to our area. And our contractors that live there couldn't keep the inventory, so they actually couldn't do the program, and so it was a challenge to get up there. Anyway, so going through each building and finding out who paid the utility bill was a big challenge for us. I mean, it would have been a lot easier if all the owners paid their own utility bill, even if they were in a building that they rented at.
And so how did you, or were you able to address that challenge? Master meter, you pay, the utility bill is included in the rent to get the go-ahead to do the energy efficiency improvements.
Well, I would say that probably 50 to 75% of the buildings that we were able to get the businesses and find the owners, but it was quite a challenge to even find the owners in a second home owner situation as in Mammoth, to find out who, and we had a lot of challenges with Southern California Edison finding actual street addresses. I mean, I actually canvassed door to door, went to businesses because High Sierra Energy Foundation, who administers our partnership, as you spoke about trust, they do not want somebody from Southern California Edison coming in there and saying, hey, we're going to do this to your place. And our program actually, they received up to $10,000 of free retrofits. And there were certain measures where in San Francisco, you said that they had to do a copay to feel they invested in it. In ours, it was absolutely free. We had challenges with a lot of businesses saying, no, we don't trust you and that whole thing, but at least we walked door to door. But a lot of the businesses said, here's my address. We don't have mailing addresses. We have P.O. boxes. And so we had a lot of challenge with Southern California Edison coming back to us and saying, well, we can't find the service account number. And we're like, but you're the ones that have the service account numbers, and we can't give it to you because it's data. So our program was extremely challenging for a small town. I can't imagine doing San Francisco. I mean, we have 7,000 people, but we had a very successful program. We had it could have been a lot easier than with Southern California Edison had definite ways. The program manager for direct install had a definite way that they wanted to do the program, and we wish they would have been a little more flexible. Because one thing we did is when we canvassed, we went around and found out who could sign the agreement, the access agreement, and we had a list that we gave them of all the businesses, all the business owners, all the managers, all the cell phones, all the emails. So when Southern California Edison came by, if somebody wasn't there, they could call us and we can give them the information, and they weren't really into that way of doing things.
Okay. Ann, did you say you wanted to add something?
Just quickly, sometimes it's easier in San Francisco because, there are enough businesses to choose from. But one of the reasons we do the program in-house is because that's the same way PG&E runs their programs in most places, I think, still to today. So you either went with that way, and these were the rules, and they just didn't. The contractors often weren't from anywhere around that neighborhood. They were from the valley, actually, and so they installed equipment that wasn't up to par. So we have our own engineers go in there. Everything has to meet specification. They come to us. So we got the complaints, right, from the contractors were nowhere to be found. So we thought this just isn't going to work.
Yes. in hearing you speak about your challenges with a population of 7,000, just reminded me that there was one larger business that we had an issue with. And the way that we approached that is we called their corporate office and said, look at folks, we do this number of thousands of dollars of business with you, and what we're asking is just for access to improve the environment, but also to have some savings, and that took care of that right away.
Hi, Michelle Castagnola with the City of Chula Vista. We have a similar issue with small businesses that are where their rent is essentially, their utilities included with their rent. We have absentee owners, hard to find them. The only thing that has essentially worked up until this point is to really work with that business owner and their lease process to say, if I make these improvements, because they're not operating on a triple net lease, it's not the same for them to make improvements to the building as a more established business operation is, because these are really, really small businesses. And to have them work with the owner on the lease to say, okay, I'm going to increase this efficiency. It's going to decrease your overall expenses. So when we go out for the lease next time, that's the only way to essentially to make it work. The other one is if, fingers crossed, they have a property manager, working with the property manager. Those were the only two ways to get anything accomplished. Otherwise, we didn't have any success, and we weren't even close to 70% for those small businesses. It's very, very hard to reach out to them.
Okay. Anybody else want to talk about working with building owners, or do we have another question? Kelsey, you can do it either way.
Well, I just wanted to say, we found it extremely valuable in the city where I work to,
which is
Beaumont.
Okay.
We're not quite as small as Mammoth Lakes, but we're not San Francisco. We're 38,000 people, but we have a large amount of absentee landlords who own these smaller businesses, and unfortunately, we have a lot of slumlords also in town. But the issue that we ran into was, we sent out letters previous so that the people who owned these buildings knew that this was coming. But we also made sure that our code enforcement officers were engaged in the process too, because they know who the building owners are. They know who's they need to get a hold of when something's wrong with the building. So we were able to, if we had, an interested business owner who wasn't sure if they were allowed to make these improvements or didn't know if it violated their lease or whatever, we brought in code enforcement and had them give the landlord a call and say, hey, this is a free thing. This is improving your property. And is it okay with you if we send you fax over the agreement so that we know it's all right? So it was that little extra step, and it helped out a lot. Again, it's a smaller town, but we had about 600 businesses that were qualified for the program, and we had a really high success rate by doing that. So
that's great. We have a question in the back.
Hi, I'm Courtney Kalation, and I work with the Southern California Edison Southern California Gas Company partnership in Kings and Tulare counties, so that's in the southern San Joaquin Valley. My question would be for all of you, how have you kept the participants engaged in the program after it wraps up? How do you take them from being somebody who's willing to participate to becoming an advocate for the program, or involved in deeper retrofits in the future? So that's something I'm curious about.
Great question. Who wants to go first? Cruz.
The timing is really, really very important. What we did, there was a survey that was taken after the completion of the retrofits. So that's a survey that gave us some information with respect to how it was implemented, whether or not they all their questions were answered, and so on and so forth. But what we're planning on doing now, and I just spoke with the contractor, is we want to go back and we want to do a report card. So that's how we're going to gauge it, is we're going to go to each individual business and ask them about their experience, whether it was helpful, what could we do to make it better, and then at that same time, we're going to speak to them about other measures.
Thanks. Ann, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'd like to add another reason we took it in-house was so that we could control the data. So there are considered, managed projects that are ongoing. So when our auditors are in a place that, and maybe the owner couldn't do the refrigeration at that time. It's much, in these small businesses, there's only so much opportunity. I think on one of those slides it showed, they went around and a lot of them had already done their lighting and there was nothing else really for them to do. With refrigeration, there's not a lot of new technologies out there that are available, period. But the ones that were, we've integrated into the program as they came out and were acceptable at the Public Utilities Commission. We just integrated them into the program. So we keep looking for new technologies. That's why this LED, so we will go back to galleries that wouldn't do anything before. And so that's the kind of marketing strategies you have to use. But again, we data management in our multifamily programs, it's much more evident because things are done in a series. They project manage it and they line it up for a couple of years, and they'll do their boiler and then they usually do the lighting first, but then they sign up to do the boiler retrofit and stuff like that. So
the LED stuff is really cool. I did some relighting in my house, and I had some track lighting that I just put in a couple of years ago, and the price of the LED and the range of options, so I switched it out, and the color, my electrician had warned me about this or told me about it, the color, what it does for the paintings and the photographs, it just pops it out, so gallery people would love it.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll report back in a couple of years of how we're keeping the businesses that we just got signed up engaged in the program. But I do know a couple of things that we want to do. A green business directory is an idea that we were talking about and something that the businesses are receptive to. It's, again, another way to promote those that are participating and a way for them to market themselves by being part of this program. And one thing I think we can do on the local government side, which I think might help address the gentleman's question about how do we assist really if any building owners want to make retrofits, is our building codes, making those codes, they're offering incentives, fast tracking things for redevelopment and permitting. And we have incentives for lead development, for solar, fee waivers, those kind of things. I know our neighboring city, Hermosa Beach, as part of the Energy Upgrade California, they have, I think, fast-track development, permitting things for residential. I don't know how that works for commercial, but kind of modeling off of that idea. If people want to make energy efficiency improvements, making it easier for them to do it. So as we move further in the program, we have a 3-year window for our certifications, and we expect each year the checklist to become more stringent. So as we get to that point where we finally are done with all the low-hanging fruit, and we need to help these businesses now move to the next step, hopefully we'll have those things moving on the same track and have the incentives in place for them.
Okay, another question. Yes, sir. Tell us who you are and what your question is.
Certainly. My name is Gus Romo. I represent the city of Calamasa, which is right adjacent to Beaumont over there. We're a small community as well, a little under 8,000 people, about 14 square miles. Really well known for our open space conservation. And so the community is very active and very involved in trying to be a leader in energy efficiency, in open space, several things. The problem is we're at a stage that our commercial development is just about to grow. We've got a lot of master plan communities that are going to put us at about a 30,000 population. So you've got a lot of members of the community that are saying, hey, back off. These people are coming in, don't give them any more standards. So that's a tough thing to deal with, especially when a good portion of our staff is contract staff, including myself. Last year, my budget was cut. The year before, it keeps happening. So the resources that we have are very limited. And Cruz, I'm so glad you're here to represent that small community, because all in all, what we're trying to do is go ahead and have people to help us with these programs. I don't know if our Western Riverside Energy Partners can help us maybe become the people that would go out there and do these inventories, or I guess they're energy audits that you seem to be going out and doing. Because I know if I try to do it myself or have one of my contract staff do it, the staff or the city council is going to say, no, you're spending too much money. So how do you deal with that? Is it just grants?
Sure.
Well, for us, we have a total of 11 city employees, including myself. So we operate our city, except for law enforcement, which we contract out to the Sheriff's Department, and of course our recycling trash collection, we contract that out. what we did is that we enlisted the help of a Vista volunteer, and you can submit applications for those, and they are tremendous. I mean, I can't begin to tell you how helpful that is, because they can work for a period of 1 year, or they can extend it up to, I believe it's 3 years. Not only did we enlist the help of the Vista volunteer that first year, and we were most fortunate in that through that program is how we were able to get Alex Portishover to come out and help us. And let me tell you, what a dynamo. These young people are very, very sensitive to the environment. They're very progressive, and they love working in small communities, especially the low-income communities. But I know that they work in any community. Alex took this and she ran with it. We had some great ideas. We did an awful lot of brainstorming. But truly, in many ways, a lot of the things we did were because of her efforts. And I know that the Vista volunteers are available, AmeriCorps Vista. We also had another project, and that was with the NAAA, the National Association, more Vistas anyway. And they helped us put together a community garden. There were a total of 18 volunteers that came into our community. And again, I can't stress how helpful they were, because for a small community, we wouldn't have been able to do all of the work that has been accomplished in our community without their volunteer help. We're also enlisted the help at various times of the master gardeners to come out, water conservation, all those types of things. So look outward to see what's available with respect to the volunteers, and then also the grants. The grants are critically important.
Something to think about with, as you said, your community expanding, and I assume as the population expands, there will be new businesses. New businesses, new buildings that are constructed are going to have to meet the existing state energy efficiency and other green building codes. So that's one issue. The challenge, I think, is how do you take the existing businesses that are there now and help them become more energy efficient. And I suspect there are a lot of people here who can chat with you, including talking to WRCOG, what opportunities they have there. Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you might be moving
connect
on,
the question and
okay.
and
Greg
some
Haney
info.
with Southern California Edison. So also, the COG, the partnerships that are in the Southern California Edison service territory are designed to bring the resources that are available from the utility to the city to meet your needs. So as Yvonne was saying, that if you have existing small businesses that you want to have audited to be more energy efficient, then we can bring the resource like a direct install program out there, and they will do that. There's a bunch of other resources. So essentially, make your needs known to the Western Riverside Partnership, and then together we'll work to do what we can. Okay.
And there's a WRCOG staff person here. I think she's still here today. She was here yesterday, Barbara Spoonhour. Okay, great. Next, thank you.
Linda Herman, City of Chico. Mine's kind of a two-question, probably for Ann and Cruz. How do you both have contractors that do the direct installation? So how did you pick those contractors? Did you do a bid situation, and how do you do that when you really don't know the quantities and what's going to be done, or do you do that ahead of time and then bid it out? How do you get around that public bidding process of who do you pick as a contractor, and how do you control the costs?
Good question.
It's a big one. So the way we are set up is we have ICF International as it went out for a bid to help us with applications and such. So we have designed our own applications, and they process them, and they pay the contractor within 2 weeks. So it's much better than marketing the utility program. We're not sure what happens with that. They turn in the application. We're not, whenever the contractors don't get paid. So they like our program because they get paid fast. And we're able to do that because we take the money and the city allows us, the risk manager allowed us to provide ICF with an advance. of several $100,000 that sits in an account just as a rolling account that's reimbursed over the time of the program. So that method has worked much to our advantage. Now, so on the small business program, because it's a turnkey program, those contractors are part of a contractor pool that we've been working with for years that we know do quality work. And again, we pre and post inspect all of those sites. We have a list of specifications for all the measures that are in our program. And they have to meet, and a lot of contractors don't want to work with the small businesses. So right now we just have 3. And we rotate, and we know which ones are kind of better at one thing than another, or, in the newer technologies. And we assign them, and then they agree to go. The incentives go to them, so the customer just pays that copay. Sometimes it's they get the full project paid, but mostly it's a small copay. And the contractor gets the money. So they like doing it, and that's why that incentive was higher, so that those contractors will be encouraged to do those small projects. And we make up with that because we have larger ones. So they're all local contractors. That's the other thing. In our bigger program, the rest of the program, we have what we call participating contractors, and they are we announce to all the contractors about the program. We get lists, and they come to a training. They have to go to a training. We show them how to fill out the forms. We have a manual that they have to follow. So we've got probably, we've probably by this time maybe over 100 have come to those trainings, and about 35 to 50 are active. And they do all the sale. Our marketing budget is tiny. They go out and sell projects and use our program. And they all have to go through inspections for so many, and then we do periodic inspections. So we have a very tight quality control program set up. The bidding, we don't have to bid for them. They're just participating contractors. ICF is sort of the shield between the city, so they've assumed a lot of the responsibility. But they do sign, they sign, they have to be licensed. They have all the basic kinds of things. So that's how it works.
Thank you. For us, it was critically important that we hire a local contractor, and our service provider, our utility provider, requires that that particular individual who works in the program would have to go through all of the various training. The individual went through the training, but there were delays, and it took such a long time for it to be approved that he couldn't wait any longer and went off into the sunset. Then we also worked with the subcontractor, and we again stressed the importance of having someone who spoke the language that would be acceptable to the community. And luckily for us, we were able to find someone that worked for the subcontractor that was very familiar with the program, but had all Spanish-speaking individuals that can come and work into our community. There was one in particular, that's all it was required for our small community, and he did a marvelous job. So first of all, it went through the utility service provider.
Meredith, question up here.
Thank you. 2 quick follow-ups on that question.
Who you are?
Meredith Reynolds, City of Irvine, Environmental Program, City of Irvine. So to Cruz and were those job order contractors, or were they regular contractors through ICF? Well, you can let me know the answer. And then also, Ann, for your program, you had mentioned that it was PG&E still had some involvement, but it's not clear to me if they paid for the program or where the budget for the program comes from. If you could explain those 2 things, that'd be great.
Yeah, so our partnership is like other partnerships, only the money for the rebates comes to the city. So we get about $6 million a year, and about half of that is incentives. That's how we try to manage it, and the rest is auditing and implementation work, and a very tiny marketing and a little bit of administration. So, and then we kind of design the measures, decide on the measures that are going in, and we have a very good program manager and very good support at PG&E because we bring in lots of savings for them, and they support. They're very environmentally conscious, and they like the fact that we're doing so well. So that's been extremely helpful. So the money, and we manage, I manage the contract with ICF, so they respond to us. The contractors, again, are local contractors that come from flying up from San Diego. We have a few because we have high incentives, right? They like that. They last about 3 months. Some of them set up a local office and stick around and open an office up there, but usually the scrutiny of the program is a little bit harsh for, a lot of the contractors that work in these programs. So anyway, that's how that works. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just trying to understand if it seems to me that your program is set up in such a way that PG&E is paying for you to sort of do a one-off program. And that's very different than some of us in Southern California get from our utility, because we have to follow, to the point of some of the people who spoke earlier, we have to follow exactly their direct install program. And you have a little bit of a diversion from that, and I like that.
We do too. We had a program with our first contract with PG&E. We were the initial pilot partnership in 2003, and that was run in a way where we just had, and we hired engineers right away to do auditing because we wanted information and we wanted to be able to really know what was going on. But PG&E paid we just did the audits and did a report for the customer. But whether or not the project went through or not, we really couldn't even get that information, unless we went back to the customer. So, and we got a lot of complaints. And so we just decided we couldn't do that. So anyway, we just went and said we want to hire more people here, and we'll run it, and we'll just turn over the results to you. Take them, But anyway, I think it's easier for a city and county like us because it's a confined area. There's not a lot of travel and such, and costs are down.
I was going to answer my portion of the question, and basically for us, it worked two ways. One, for the Energy Watch, that was where the subcontractor came in and the city staff tagged along. The second, and it's a traditional PG&E model. Okay, we didn't deviate except for the fact that we did insist that somebody tag along, city staff tag along with the business community. On the energy savings program, we were fortunate to be able to get a local individual that was hired by the subcontractor to be able to learn all of the aspects to do the installations and the other requirements.
Hang on for 1 second because we're going to go right next door here.
Okay. Kathy Vargas with City of Culver City. So listening to all of you, it's incredible what you've done, and I'm just so happy to have heard all of your success stories. But what do you say to the folks that are out there in the community, out there in your meetings, that say, you're doing such a fabulous job, you're going to run us all out of business. We're going to be broke. You're going to make it so wonderful that where's the revenue going to come from because everybody's conserving? Do you get those comments, and do you just roll your eyes and say, get out? What do you do? What do you say? How do you react to those types of debates?
People are, let me make sure I understand this. The question is, how does one respond to members of the public saying if we reduce our energy use too much, it's a bad thing?
We get this question, yeah, we get them.
Okay, okay, let's hear the response, please.
Well, we get this question not just from residents, but from city staff and from our elected officials also. Like for water conservation, we're doing really well in water conservation. Well, then it's an odd question, and they kind of joke about it, but the question is revenue for the city will go down because people are paying less for their utilities. That's the weird concept. But then they know the flip side of it is, but we're still moving on a trend where we need to. So in our water area, we want to reduce the imported water. That's everybody's goal. We have capability to pump some of our own water. We want to increase what we're using to keep it as local as possible. So I think they do understand that side of it. And the other part of it too is that rates are going to continue to rise. So we're on a tiered water rate and waste rate system. So those are tiered. The more you use, the more you pay. We expect the Metropolitan Water District, we expect Edison's rates to keep rising as we go in the future. We don't see those moving. So for encouraging conservation, it benefits the end user. So it benefits the resident, it benefits the business owner to be able to put in place the practices they need now to save and prepare for that future. That's kind of our response to folks. Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to give since we only have 5 minutes, what I'd like to do is ask the panelists, we'll quickly go around a minute or two each, either what advice do you have based upon what you've learned, your lessons learned, 1 or 2 key items of advice you would share with the audience on what are the key things based upon what you learned to make working with businesses effective, working with businesses to save energy. So, round robin.
Oh, it's me.
It's you.
You know, it's for our community, we have such a close relationship with our businesses that it's just a continuation of making sure that we communicate with them, that we address whatever issues arise. The other thing that we're working on, and again, we stress education is the key to the success. We make sure that our community members, both businesses, and we can isolate the businesses and the residential through our telephone system. We have a citywide telephone system. So whenever we have anything that is important, an important message to get to our community, we use the telephone system as well as posting flyers wherever the large number of people congregate and go on a regular basis, which is the post office, the Valley Health Clinic, and the school. So those are the methods of education and outreach that we use on a regular and continuous basis. What we will wind up doing is, again, as much as possible, we're going to communicate to our businesses how the changes, the legislation is taking place and what is driving an awful lot of the things that we're doing. They have to become familiar with the fact that sometimes it's not just city-driven, because we will be changing some of our codes and our procedures. So we need to let them know that it's not only beneficial for the community, for their business, but just for the world in general. And that's how that's what we have learned, is communication is the key.
Anne?
Well, I certainly would agree that communication is the key. There's lots of channels for communication. We work with the merchant associations. There's a commission, a small business commission, so we work with those commissioners and let them know what we're doing. We work closely with the supervisor's office to know, if something happens in their particular district. And with the Chamber of Commerce, we often do walks with them, or they have displays in different places. But there's a presence in the community, and these small businesses like being part of the community. So we work with them, as our department, fortunately, does all the recycling and composting as well. So when you get and Green Business Program certification, so we can do a lot of that. We have businesses that are just outstanding, and we try to recognize them as much as possible. So I think it's like recognition, appreciation,
and trust.
Trust for sure.
Yeah, I think the recognition is a big part of it. As far as advice and lessons learned that I can share, it's finding that champion in your community and also making use of the available partnerships. For our city, Manhattan Beach is a really fortunate community to work in, but that doesn't mean they want to spend a lot of money on these programs. So we were running programs with virtually no budget. And so how do we do that? We make use of our volunteers, and we thought, okay, we'll do this audit and we'll just send our volunteers out there. But our volunteers are also the residents, and in some cases the business owners. So there was that idea of that may be a conflict. You don't want to go audit a restaurant that happens to be your friend. They'll be like, hey, come on, just give me the certification. we're buddies. So we decided to make use of other partnerships that are out there, making use of our solid waste hauler to do the audits, also making use of the South Bay Environmental Services Center. Through our COG, we've got this great facility, this great opportunity to share resources from all the utilities. So we don't have to go work with Edison. We don't have to work with West Basin. Our Environmental Services Center does that work and houses all of that information and all those resources and rebates, and are coming with us now to do the audits and to share their programs and augment what we're trying to do. So we make use of that partnership. I would end with just one quote, kind of one idea that we try to explain as we're moving through this work, and I'll read it so I don't get it wrong, but it's every change you make is likely to inspire others to examine and change their thinking and their behavior. So using each of these businesses as one example to inspire everyone else, and little by little we'll take over the world, right?
I want to thank everybody, and we'll conclude with this slide. We promised that we would share with you what these three very diverse cities have in common, and I think thanks to the panelists, we were able to do that. Thanks to all of you, and lunch is next. Thank you. You guys were great. Thank you. This worked.